Math Genie.
Explaining how to solve arithmetic sequence problems. So we know that there are two different types of sequences. So we have arithmetic and we have geometric. So I have these two types of sequences. In this video, I'm going to be solely explaining how to solve arithmetic sequence problems. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's look at the example question. Find x if x equals -9 plus 7 plus 23 plus 39 all the way until 279. So you may be tempted to go ahead and add up all of these numbers, but I'm going to tell you this is going to be a nightmare. That is going to be a nightmare if you literally go ahead and add up all of these terms, especially competitions when you are timed. So what I really want to focus on in this video is teaching you two formulas that's going to be really helpful when you are solving arithmetic sequence problems. So let's go ahead and talk about those two formulas before we get on and solve the problem. So the first formula that I want to talk about is called the formula for the nth term. So the formula for the nth term. So what is this formula? This formula, you may have seen it somewhere already. A sub n equals a sub 1 plus m minus 1 d. So this is the first formula that I'm going to introduce to you guys. If you have taken Algebra 1, you should be familiar with this formula. Or pre-algebra, you should have seen this somewhere, I'm pretty sure. And this is the basic formula, or the rudimentary formula you must know when solving arithmetic sequence problems if you don't want to waste time actually adding up all of these terms. So let's go ahead and talk about each of these things that are in this formula. So we have a sub n, and this is referring to any terms in the sequence. So let's make an example sequence. So 1, 3, 5, and 7. In this case, a sub n can be 1, 3, 5, or 7. This a sub n is just referring to any of the terms that are in the sequence. What is a sub 1? That is the first term of the sequence. So in this case, a sub 1 is going to be equal to 1. What is this n? N is the number of terms in a sequence. Number of terms in a sequence. So in this case, n is going to be equal to 4 because we see that there are 4 terms in the sequence. And finally, d is referring to common difference. What is common difference? Common difference is basically the difference between the next term and the previous term. So you can find the common difference by subtracting the next term minus previous term, or term. And we can see 3 minus 1 is 2, positive 2. 5 minus 3, positive 2. And 7 minus 5 is positive 2. So we know that the common difference of this specific sequence is going to be positive 2. Sequence can have also negative common difference. So for instance, if we have a sequence like 6, 3, 0, and negative 3, in this case, when we subtract the previous term from the next term, we get negative 3 this time. So we have a negative common difference. So always remember that you can have either positive or negative, so don't ever take the absolute value for the common difference. It can also have negative values. So we have the first formula down, and I'm going to be talking about the other formula next. The second formula I'm going to be talking about is the summation formula. So how to find the sum of the terms. And this is only talking about arithmetic sequence. So how do you find the sum of all of these terms in the sequence? And that can be solved by using a formula. S equals n over 2 times a sub 1 plus a sub n. So let's again analyze this formula. This S is simply just standing for the sum. So it's just referring to the sum of all the terms. It's obviously going to be a number. N, again, in this case, is referring to the number of terms. Number of terms in a sequence. Same thing as the other formula here. Same thing. A sub 1, again, the first term. In this case, a sub n is talking about the last term in the sequence. Specifically, the last term in the sequence. So this is basically the two formulas that you must know in order to solve this traumatizing problem without having to actually go ahead and add up all of these terms. So if you know these two formulas, then you must be good to go. So let's go ahead and solve this problem, the example problem that I have provided, by using these two formulas. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and say this. Whenever you see arithmetic sequence problems, the first thing that you must always do is find the common difference. So let's go ahead and do that. Step 1, find common difference. What is the common difference? As I said, it's the next term minus the previous term. And that is, in this case, 16. So we already have one of the information that we need. So we know that D, or common difference, is equal to 16. One is already cleared up. What do we do next? We must find how many number of terms there are in the sequence. But how are we supposed to find that? Are you literally going to go and add 16 to 39 and add 16 to the next term all the way until you get 279 to see how many terms there are in the sequence? No, you're not going to do that because that's going to waste you too much time. So we're going to use the formula that I've talked about to solve this. We're going to use this formula. So how are we going to use this? Since we have what D is equal to, and since we know what a sub 1 is, or the first term, and since we know the term, we can easily find n. So for a sub n, I'm going to plug in 279. Why? We're trying to figure out how many number of terms there are. So if we figure out what term this is, then we must be able to figure out how many number of terms are there. So 279 equals a sub 1, the first term, which is negative 9, plus, we don't know what n is or how many terms there are, and the common difference is 16. Let's go ahead and simplify this. So 279 equals negative 9 plus 16n minus 16. It's basic algebra here. So 279 equals 16n minus 25. And now we're going to add 25 to both sides. Let's go ahead and do some mental, or we can actually just add them up on the side. So 3 or 4 equals 16n. N equals, let's go ahead and do some mental math there. So 16 goes to 30, 1, and 16 times 9 gives you 54. So we have already figured out what n is equal to and how many number of terms there are. So we know that 279 is the 19th term of the sequence. So we know there must be 19 terms, because we know that 279 is the last term of the sequence. Last term. So now we have the two informations that we need. Really, we just found the common difference just so that we could find n. Because remember, the summation formula don't require for you to know the common difference. But we found it in order to apply it to this formula so that we can find what n is equal to, which is crucial for you to know in order to use this formula. So it's like a step here that you must take. And this is, again, the last step, so you're almost done. So what is s equal to? What we're trying to figure out here is what s is equal to. So if we figure out the s, then we'll be done for this problem. So s, or the sum, is equal to, what is n? 19 over 2. First term, -9. Last term, 279. So if we solve this, then we literally have just found the sum. Let's go ahead and do that. So 19 over 2, what is this? 270. And then we can just cancel these two out. It's going to be 135. So we basically have to find 19 times 135. Let's go ahead and do that on the side. So 5, 4 goes up, 2, 3, 12, and then 135. So we'll get 2, 5, 7. Actually, I just messed it up a little bit there. Sorry about that. It's a moment of reflection for me too. 1 to the 6, 5. So we have 2,565 as our final answer. So the sum is 2,565. So the answer to this question is 2,565. Easy, right? If you just know how to solve this problem, then it's really easy. I'm not joking. Like, it's so easy if you just know how to actually solve this. So you can target these 3 steps and you'll be good. For any competitions or at school, you just need to know these 3 steps and the 2 formulas that I've previously discussed. Thank you for staying until the end of this video.
Math Genie.